What if the one person who was supposed to have your back turned out to be sharing a bed with your boss? Not metaphorically, literally. And what if the boss you quit on, the mom you adored, and the career you were barely holding together all came crashing into each other at the worst possible moment? Welcome to Zara's life, where family drama, workplace chaos, and unexpected romance collide in the most spectacularly messy way possible. Buckle up, because this one is a roller coaster from the very first scene. Our story kicks off by introducing us to Chris Cole, a full-blown superstar whose superhero role has made him a household name across the entire world. We're talking the kind of famous where you can't scroll through social media for 5 seconds without seeing his face, and news channels treat his breakfast choices like breaking headlines. We cut to a very different kind of chaos. A beautiful young woman named Zara, completely stuck in traffic, having a full and passionate argument with absolutely no one. Just herself, the steering wheel, and a mountain of frustration. Zara, as it turns out, is Chris's personal secretary, and she has been summoned to a very specific location with a very specific item in a very specific hurry. Because of course she has. Chris, meanwhile, is sitting across from his girlfriend Ashley on what is supposed to be a lovely lunch date. He is very carefully trying to steer the conversation toward a big decision they apparently need to make together. The kind of big decision that usually involves one person being very unhappy about it. Just as the waiter arrives to take their order, Chris sneaks in a quick message to Zara telling her to get there immediately because he needs what she's carrying right now. Zara, bless her soul, fights through the chaos and somehow manages to deliver the gift on time. The gift, as it turns out, is a pair of diamond earrings. With the earrings in hand, Chris smoothly pivots and tells Ashley that his upcoming film is going to demand every single second of his time and energy, so perhaps the kindest thing they can do for each other is to part ways now. He presents the earrings with the kind of practiced charm that makes you wonder exactly how many times he has done this before. Ashley, clearly not thrilled but perhaps not entirely surprised either, accepts the breakup along with the jewelry and walks away. File that earring detail away, by the way. It is going to become very important later. After the breakup, we catch up with Chris and Zara in the car together, and Chris is in an oddly cheerful mood for a man who just ended a relationship over lunch. That cheerfulness, however, evaporates almost instantly when he turns on Zara and demands to know where on earth she had been and why she took so long and whether she has any idea how stressed he was. He dramatically declares that his heart was practically in his throat and that he is seriously considering firing her on the spot. Now, Zara is not exactly thrilled with this job on the best of days, but she knows Chris well enough to understand that this is simply how he operates. Through their bickering, we learn that Chris is deeply stressed about the script of his upcoming film. He feels it needs a serious rewrite, and so he assigns Zara the task of showing up at his house the very next morning at 8 o'clock sharp with a talented writer in tow. On top of that, he also wants her to retrieve the diamond earrings back from Ashley, because apparently giving someone a breakup gift and then asking for it back is something Chris considers a reasonable request. Zara is horrified by the earring retrieval mission and pushes back hard, telling him that asking for a gift back after giving it is one of the most classless things a person can do. The argument goes nowhere productive, as arguments with Chris tend to do. We then shift to meet two of the most important women in Zara's life, her mother Brooke and her grandmother Layla. Brooke, we quickly learn, is not just any mom. She is an accomplished writer with real credentials and real talent, though she confides in Layla that lately nothing she writes feels good enough to her. She explains that she stepped away from writing for quite a while, and ever since Zara's father passed away, everything in her life has felt scattered and incomplete. Layla, warm and grounding as grandmothers tend to be, gently pushes back and reminds Brooke that she has read some of her recent pages and they are genuinely beautiful. She tells Brooke that surviving everything she has survived while raising a daughter alone and building a career is nothing short of remarkable, and that if she ever wanted to, her own life story would make for an extraordinary book. It is a small moment, but it tells us everything about the kind of strength that runs quietly through this family. When Zara arrives home that evening, she finds her mother and immediately asks how old Brooke was when her very first book was published. Brooke tells her she was 30. Zara goes quiet for a moment and then admits that she sometimes worries she will never accomplish anything as meaningful. That she is doing a job, yes, but a job where her boss occasionally seems to forget whether she is his secretary or his personal errand service. Brooke, with the calm wisdom of someone who has been through far worse, tells her daughter simply that if that is how she feels, she needs to say it out loud and tell Chris exactly what she needs. It is good advice. Zara will take a while to act on it, but she hears it. Later that night, while Zara is in her bedroom, Chris calls and casually instructs her to make a trip to the supermarket to pick up a list of items for him, because naturally, being his secretary apparently extends to grocery runs at all hours. Zara goes because that is what she does, and while she is there, she runs into her friend Stella, who happens to be a writer. Zara pitches her the idea of rewriting Chris's film script, but Stella is honest about her hesitation. Superhero movies are not exactly her comfort zone, and she has barely been writing at all lately. Still, she agrees to give it a shot. Small victories. The next morning, when Zara arrives at Chris's house, she discovers that the gate password has been changed. She calls Chris, and he answers in full dramatic fury, reminding her that she promised to arrive at 8 with a writer, that she clearly has not done this, that he is under enormous pressure, and that if she has not also retrieved the earrings from Ashley, she can consider her job officially over. Something snaps in Zara at that moment. Rather than turning around and going home, she scales the gate, physically climbs over it, marches into the house, and tells Chris to his face that she is quitting this ridiculous job and he can find someone else to manage his chaos. Chris immediately shifts from furious to panicked because losing Zara would genuinely bring his entire operation to a halt, and deep down, he knows it. He tries to reason with her, cajole her, talk her down. It does not work. Zara has made up her mind, and she walks out. Back home, her mother notices immediately that something is wrong, but Zara deflects and says she is just tired. Her friend Jenny arrives shortly after, and the two of them retreat to Zara's room, where Jenny listens and offers what encouragement she can. After Jenny leaves, Zara finally comes clean to her mother and tells her the truth. She quit her job because she was exhausted by Chris's unreasonable demands, and she simply could not take it anymore. She asks her mother what she should do now. Brooke, in her characteristically grounded way, tells Zara that this is not a question she can answer for her daughter, because Zara is smart enough and capable enough to figure it out herself. It is the right answer, even if it is not the easy one. Zara leaves the conversation feeling unsettled, which is probably exactly what she needed to feel. Chris, on the other side of town, is not handling things well either. The stress of having no secretary and no script solution has him wound tight enough that he ends up driving to Zara's house to try and convince her to come back. When he rings the doorbell and gets no answer, he notices the gate is already open and lets himself in, calling out for Zara. It is Brooke who emerges instead, and she immediately recognizes him as her daughter's boss. She tells him Zara is out and will not be back for a while, then invites him in, slips away to change out of whatever she was cleaning in, and returns to sit with him. The two of them end up sharing a drink of tequila and falling into easy conversation. Chris tells Brooke that Zara quit and that he came hoping to convince her to return. Brooke mentions her name, and the conversation flows naturally from there. What they do, what they have been through, what matters to them. When Chris mentions he is searching for a writer for his film, Brooke takes him to show him a book, and that is when he spots a national award sitting on the shelf. He asks about it with genuine curiosity, and Brooke tells him simply that it is hers. She is a writer, a real one, with recognition to prove it. She goes on to share a little of her story, that it has been 11 years since Zara's father passed, that she navigated some of the hardest seasons of her life alone, that she raised her daughter while somehow keeping herself together. It is the kind of honesty that disarms people, and Chris is no exception. The conversation between them deepens in a way neither of them quite planned for. Chris, who is naturally charming in a slightly dangerous way, begins complimenting Brooke with the kind of playful warmth that is hard to resist, and Brooke finds herself genuinely enjoying it. Then, in a moment that is equal parts bold and reckless, Chris leans in and kisses her. Brooke does not pull away. What starts as a single impulsive moment quickly becomes something much more, and the two of them give in entirely to the kind of spontaneous, inconvenient, poorly timed attraction that real life occasionally produces without asking anyone's permission. And then Zara comes home. She calls out for her mom on her way upstairs, pushes open the bedroom door, and walks straight into a scene that no daughter anywhere in the world is prepared for. The shock is so complete that she actually hits her head on the wall and passes out cold on the floor. Chris and Brooke, to their credit, waste absolutely no time getting her to the hospital. But once Zara regains consciousness, she makes very efficient use of her energy by being furious at both of them simultaneously. Inside the clinic, she corners her mother and points out, quite reasonably, that Chris is 20 years younger than her and demands to know how this happened. Brooke, attempting to navigate the situation with as much calm as possible, explains that sometimes life hands you a moment you did not plan for, and that it was simply a beautiful thing they shared together. Zara does not find this convincing. Her mood is not improved when the doctor on duty turns out to be a massive Chris Cole fan who spends more time chatting with the movie star than actually examining his patient. On the drive home, Chris makes his move. He tells Zara that if she agrees to come back to work, he will give her an associate producer credit on the film. Zara's response is direct. She will consider it, but what happened with her mother cannot happen again. Chris agrees and acknowledges that it was a mistake on both their parts. The next day, life resumes with a new arrangement. Chris returns to his film shoot, and Zara shows up on set in her new role as associate producer. Meanwhile, Brooke receives a dinner invitation from Chris. She hesitates at first, reminding herself of all the reasons this is complicated, but ultimately she gets dressed in something lovely and makes her way to the location he suggested. Across town, Zara and Stella are working together on the film script, making real progress. At dinner, Chris and Brooke acknowledge openly that what happened between them probably should not have happened, and Brooke mentions that Zara does not know about this particular meeting, but that she plans to tell her everything was sorted out between them. Then Chris asks if she would like to take a walk with him through the New York studio after dinner, and Brooke says yes with a smile that makes it clear she already knows this evening is going to become something more than dinner. The walk is romantic, the conversation is easy, and by the time the two of them sit down somewhere quiet with drinks in hand, it is obvious that whatever this is between them has not disappeared. It has only grown. Chris moves closer, and Brooke looks at him with complete seriousness and says two things: never break my heart and never flatter me with lies. It is the most honest thing she has said to him, and possibly the most important. Slowly, inevitably, they move toward each other again and lose themselves entirely in the moment. When Brooke returns home that night, Zara is waiting up and immediately asks where she has been. Brooke tells her it was Chris, that they had dinner together to talk things through after what happened, and that she genuinely believes he is a good person. Zara's face makes it very clear she does not entirely buy this version of events, and asks pointedly whether it was really just dinner. Brooke holds her ground, but the skepticism in Zara's eyes does not fully go away. The very next day, Zara calls her friend to vent about the situation, while Brooke calls her mother-in-law to confess that lying to her daughter does not sit right with her at all. Her mother-in-law reassures her gently that this is her life, and she has every right to live it as fully as she chooses. The scenes that follow show us Brooke and Chris spending real, unhurried time together. Stolen hours that feel genuinely joyful, the kind of time that builds something meaningful between two people who were not expecting it. Back on the film set, Chris is giving a performance that his director finds a little too theatrical. Both the director and Zara pull him aside and suggest that the scene needs to breathe a little more, that the overacting is showing. It is a small, professional humbling for a man used to being the biggest presence in every room. After the shoot, when Zara arrives home with Jenny, Brooke gives a quick goodbye and rushes out, looking suspiciously purposeful. Zara and Jenny settle in with wine, and Zara reveals that Chris apparently found a new writer for the script without telling her, which stings quite a bit, given how hard she had been working on the problem. When she wanders into her mother's room and spots a note, the pieces click into place. The new writer is Brooke, her own mother, working for her boss on the very project Zara had been trying to solve, behind her back, without saying a word. Zara grabs Jenny and heads straight to a party Chris is hosting, having figured out that her mother was rushing there all along. At the party, Zara confronts Brooke directly, and Brooke tries to explain that she was just about to tell her that Chris is a genuinely wonderful man, and that since Zara's father, she has not met anyone who has made her feel this way. That last sentence is the one that detonates. Zara is furious that her mother would compare Chris, someone she considers a selfish and unreliable man, to her late father. She tells Brooke that Chris will hurt her the same way he has hurt everyone else, and that if Brooke chooses to continue this relationship, Zara will leave the house entirely. Brooke, pushed past her limit, says something in that heated moment that she will deeply regret. that it might have been better if Zara had not been her daughter at all. The words hit Zara like a physical blow. She does not stay to argue further. She packs what she needs and moves into Jenny's place that same night. At Jenny's, Zara spirals. She tells her friend that she feels betrayed on two fronts, by her boss who went around her to find a writer, and by her mother who took that role without a word. But Jenny, who has been patient and supportive for a long time, finally stops her. She tells Zara, calmly but clearly, that she needs to stop for a moment and actually listen because she has her own pain she has been trying to share for 10 days. Jenny's relationship ended. Her breakup happened while Zara was so consumed in her own story that she never noticed. Zara is stunned. She insists she saw things between Jenny and her partner, and they seemed fine. Jenny says quietly that nothing was fine, and that she is simply exhausted by being the person who absorbs everyone else's feelings without anyone asking about hers. It lands hard, and Zara cries, genuinely, fully cries, for the first time in a while. After the new year, Zara makes her way to Chris's house and finds him in a state she has never seen before, subdued, hollow, having skipped filming for several days. He tells her that he plays the hero on screen, but the truth is, he is the villain. He admits that yes, he did buy earrings intending to break up with Brooke, because that is simply the habit he has built around himself, the wall he puts between himself and anything real. He has never truly loved anyone. He has always assumed he is not built for it. But then something changed. Watching Brooke be happy, watching her come alive around him, he quietly made a decision to never give her those earrings. He forgot they were even still in his bag. And the New York studio, he points out, Zara knows he goes there to escape photographers and fans, not to set the stage for a breakup. He had nothing but honest feelings for her mother, and in the end, Zara found the one piece of evidence that looked damning and drew the worst possible conclusion. Now Zara is leaving the job too, and he has no idea what any of it was even for. Zara sits with all of this. She knows she was wrong. She goes home and finds her mother, and the conversation she starts is one of the most honest things she has ever said. She tells Brooke she is the best mother in the world and that she is lucky beyond measure to be her daughter. She says that sometimes the simplest truths take the longest to understand, and that she spent too long seeing her mother through the wrong lens. The people we love deserve to live on their own terms, she says. They have every right to find their own happiness in their own way, and the people who love them should be glad for it rather than afraid of it. Brooke gave up years of her own life to make sure Zara had everything she needed. The least Zara can do is let her mother have this. She pulls Brooke into a long, tearful hug, and both of them stay there for a while. Then Zara puts her plan into motion. She takes Chris to a shopping mall, which, for a man of his fame, is basically the equivalent of asking someone with a severe nut allergy to walk through a peanut factory. Chris is braced for the usual chaos: fans, selfie requests, security incidents. But something strange happens. People go about their business completely normally. Nobody stops him. Nobody screams his name. Nobody thrusts a phone in his face. He is just a man in a mall, and it is the most peaceful, ordinary, liberating thing he has experienced in years. He and Zara walk around and actually shop like regular human beings, and for a moment, Chris remembers what it feels like to just exist. While this is happening, Zara's grandmother has brought Brooke to the same mall under the cheerful pretense of needing someone to fetch her a dragon fruit from inside. Brooke heads in, spots the fruit, and then spots Zara and Chris. The two exchange easy hellos, and Brooke looks at her daughter and understands immediately that this was no coincidence. Zara confirms it. She explains that she arranged this, with her grandmother's help, because she felt that Chris and Brooke deserved one real conversation with no anger and no assumptions standing between them. Then she steps aside and leaves them to it. Chris and Brooke talk, really talk. He tells her that the person he has become since knowing her is someone he does not entirely recognize, softer, more open, more willing to want something real. He asks her whether there is any chance they can try again, whether they can choose each other properly this time. Brooke looks at him for a long moment and then says yes. They come together quietly in the middle of that ordinary shopping mall, which Zara, standing nearby with her headset on, has secretly transformed into a full film set, every camera angle planned, every detail managed. She watches the two of them find each other again, and she is absolutely beaming. The film closes on a scene set 1 year later. Brooke has published a new book that has taken on a life of its own, reaching readers far and wide and cementing her return to the literary world she never really left. And Zara, who started this story stuck in traffic, running someone else's errands, unsure of her own worth, has finally become exactly what she was always meant to be: a film producer, standing on her own 2 feet with a story she helped create. 2 women, 1 family, and the beautiful, complicated, deeply human work of letting each other grow.